All right, so behind me I have a 2020 Tesla Model 3 Performance. I got it back in July, so I've had it for about 6 months. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys the three things I absolutely love about this car and the three things I absolutely, well, not absolutely hate. I'm not a huge fan of. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I really love about this car is just the convenient factor. So obviously it's an electric, so I always keep it plugged in at my house, so it's always pretty much filled up all the time. And not having to go to the gas station is super convenient. And then I love the integration with the phone app, so I never have to carry keys on me. And obviously we all have our phones on us anyways, and just the fact that I can just pull up, park the car, get out, close the door, and it just automatically locks. I don't have to worry about carrying keys around, like I said, and I can walk up, just open the door, get in, start driving, and it's just super convenient. You can control everything with the app. I can see what's going around the car with the Sentry mode, the cameras. So anyone gets close to the car, touches the car, it's going to record it and notify me. So that's all like super convenient, super cool. And then another thing that's super convenient is there's obviously no oil changes. There's really not a whole lot of maintenance you have to do with these cars. You don't even have to really change the brake pads too often because you don't really use the brake too often when you're driving it. And yeah, it's just a super easy to maintain car. You just gotta make sure the windshield wiper fluid is topped off and make sure your tires are good, and that's pretty much it. And that's super convenient versus a regular gas car. You're always having to go get oil changes and all these moving parts and spark plugs and all this, and it's just a lot more maintenance costs and a lot more things that you have to worry about. So the second thing that I absolutely love about this car is the technology. Now I think most people are pretty aware that Teslas are like the most the most advanced cars as far as technology goes. And you really can't beat the user interface of Teslas. I mean, it feels like you're driving with like a giant Apple iPad. That's kind of the feeling that I get with these cars, like with this screen. Is it just feels like an Apple iPad, and it's just very, if you like Apple, it's just very just easy to use. It's fast. It just feels like an Apple iPad, which is, and if you like Apple, it's amazing. Compared to like a lot of these other electric cars, they just look very just kind of confusing and just slow and just outdated in a way. You definitely just cannot beat Tesla, and obviously the full self-driving is amazing. I mean, that's like, now it's to the point where that's worth getting a Tesla loan, is just the self-driving capability. Like, when I'm on long drives, I'll put on self-driving and I know you're not supposed to do this, but I'll watch a movie, or still paying attention to the road, but I'll watch a movie. You can just, it's so much more relaxing, and especially on long drives, long road trips. And that is just something that's super worth it. And another thing that's I find super cool is the summon feature. So say you go to the grocery store, you could park your car. Once you get to the front of the grocery store, you could have your car literally pull out of its parking spot and come pick you up. Now, it is kind of a useless feature right now, but it is super cool, and it is definitely useful at times. So as you can see, car is parked right behind me. So let's have it come and pull up, come pick us up as if we're at the store. So as you can see, I have it pulled up on my phone. You just have it go to a specific target, so that's where we are right now. and you can see that it's pulling up to come pick like that. So like I said, it's pretty it's not really like a super useful unless you're like handicapped or something like that. And if you do have like a lot of groceries, like you're at a Costco or something like that, I've used it there. It's definitely useful at times, and it's honestly, I think it's just super cool when you're seeing a Tesla drive itself in a parking lot. I mean, it feels like you're in the future. Um, yeah, that's super super cool. Just the fact that this car is like constantly receiving updates. I mean, almost every month, we get a new update. So compared to like any other car, like no other car gets these kind of updates. It's like an update for an iPhone, and it just gives like a level of excitement to the owning the car. Like, when you get an update, you're excited to download it, and I'm literally excited to go out and drive my car that I've had for 6 months, and it's just really cool to continue to get these updates, and they keep like the car is better than when I got it. It has gotten new features, and the full self driving is better than it was when I got it, and I just think that's super cool. Compared to any other car, they don't get these kind of updates, over the air updates. So that's super cool about the technology of this car. So the third thing that I absolutely love about this car is the speed. So electric cars are already a lot faster than most gas cars, just because the instant torque and the electric motor. But this is the performance model. So I believe the 0 to 60 on this is like 3.2 seconds or something like that. So it's a little over 3 seconds. I know the newer one is a little bit faster, but it's definitely the fastest car that I have ever driven. I believe the horsepower is around 500, so it's just super, super fun to drive, and especially when you're driving friends or family around and you get their reaction to just the instant torque. It feels like you're on like a roller coaster or something. So the first thing that I'm not a huge fan of owning this Tesla is the range. So I bought this car used. It had about 71 72,000 miles on it, so it already had some battery. um, so the battery was already degraded a little bit when I got it. Now they say, I think it's the first like 50,000 miles it'll degrade like 10% or something. Um, but my battery has already degraded to about 85%. So I have 85% life left in my battery. So the original range for this car, I believe, was 315 miles. So now my max range, I would say, is about 265 miles, maybe a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, in most cases, that's plenty of mileage for your daily driving. I mostly drive this car on the weekends, so for the most part, it's totally fine. But sometimes, when you're going longer distances and you have to stop and charge, obviously charging doesn't take the quickest. Sometimes you could be charging for 30 minutes or something, which again is not a huge deal, but compared to a gas car, when you can just roll it to a gas station, take 5 minutes, put some gas in, and keep going. So that's one thing that's, I hope that they continue to improve on in the future. And I hope that, if electric cars would get to at least 400 plus miles, I think a lot more people would get electric cars. So the second thing that I'm not a huge fan of is, and I don't hear a lot of other people talk about this, but like, there's like, sometimes I get stressed out, when I'm thinking about, the battery life and all that. All the, you can't charge the battery past, they say you shouldn't charge it past 80%. You don't want to let it go below 20%. And they say, I know it's kind of controversial, but the supercharging they say can degrade the battery faster, so they say you should avoid it. And just like trying, like worrying about that. And like during the week I'll keep the battery at like 60% since I'm not driving it too much, and then I'll bump it up on the weekends when I'm driving it. But I just wish I didn't have to worry about that. I wish I could just charge it up to 100%. Like, we charge our phones up to 100%, we use it, and then we just plug it in again when it's low. Um, like, I wish I didn't have to stress out about, how much I'm charging the battery, how often, supercharging. Um, versus like a gas car, you don't really have to worry about that with a gas car. You just keep up with your oil changes, and you obviously fill your tank up all the way. You don't have to fill your gas tank up to 80% or something. So that's something that is a little bit annoying, you know. But again, it's not like a huge deal or anything like that. So the third thing that kind of sucks about owning this car is the how fast, it's like a good and a bad thing, how fast the technology is advancing. So this car is running on hardware 3. As you know, hardware 3 is it's becoming more and more obsolete, and right now it's all about hardware 4, then pretty soon hardware 5. So I really feel bad for the people who bought newer cars like 2023 or something where that's already outdated, because like especially with the full self-driving mostly, you're seeing the people with the newer cars, hardware 4, they get all the new updates, and then hardware 3 owners, we're stuck, in the past on these older updates. And so yeah, it feels like the car is like outdated because it's on an older hardware, but at the same time, this car is still super advanced, way more advanced than any other car out there. And end of the day, I bought a used car, so that's kind of what you had to expect. And at the end of the day, it's really not a big deal. I'm not going to have this car forever. Eventually, I'm going to upgrade. And for what it is, the value that you get for this car, the speed of this car, the technology, and the fact that it's just incredibly efficient, it's convenient. I mean, I definitely could say there's probably no other car that I would want to own right now besides this Tesla.